3. Okay, so welcome everybody, EDU 101 and EDU 401, semester 1, 2018. I'm in the middle of an intensive at Parramatta with potentially it would have been bachelor and masters, but it just happens to be 6 students of masters at the moment, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. Jennifer is part of that, and I hope that Jennifer's having a good time. She looks as if she's quite happy about what's happening. I'm certainly enjoying the whole week. Okay, so first of all, you know you've got a weekly reading to do. Jen, I think you might, while I'm passing on, you might need to mute your mic because that's causing sounds off. As long as you can still hear me, yes? Yes. Okay, good. That's great. So, weekly forums, the readings are there as PDFs. Each window will be open for a week longer than the set date. I'd love you to get your post in within the date that's set. It won't be the end of the world if you don't. The idea is that do at least one post per person per week. If you get a chance to respond to some of the other students, that's all brilliant. That will be wonderful. Shelley, I wonder whether you've got some sounds going off as well. Have you got, by any chance, a canine friend?
Yeah, she's snoring.
Yeah, I could hear
Can you
that.
hear her? I'm
Yes.
in a caravan, so she's very quiet.
Fantastic. Is it possible you can mute your mic for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously unmute it if you've got a question. That's cool. So where were we? Yeah, so weekly forum, 100 words. It's going to be a real challenge to capture. All you have to do really is capture one thought or one impression in your 100 words. Don't try and summarize the whole paper, which might be 16 pages long. I will say that number 1 on free air is the hardest. So I thought I'd throw that right in at the front end to give you a challenge. They get easier afterwards. And don't expect to take in the whole of free air. If you caught an idea, that would be fantastic. From one of the pages, 2 of the pages, and say, yeah, you love that and why you love it, or you really hated him saying that and why you hate it. And if you do get a chance to say reply and comment on somebody else's notes, that will be marvelous. Okay, so a minimum of 1 a week, and if you get to do a few more, that's be lovely. It'll be supportive of each other, and you would, I'm sure, benefit from it. So, any questions about the forums? Don't forget to unmute your mic if you want to ask a question. All good.
Minor question.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I'm actually travelling around Australia and we're hitting the north first.
Yeah.
If I don't have internet, can I post when I've got it, as long as it's within a relative time frame? Or
yeah, and if you get stuck and you do run out of time, click me an email.
Yep.
That's fine. In I think it was last year. Yeah, second semester last year, we had a student in Mackay.
Yeah.
And they had no electricity for 3-4 days, and of course they couldn't even have mobile phone coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So after the fact, beyond the deadline, the lady gets in touch and says, I couldn't even put an extension request in. What can we do? And so in those situations, of course, we'll make adjustment.
Awesome, thanks.
So no, it's not the end of the world. We're not strict in that sense. Anyone else? Okay, let's go on to talk about the minor assignment. Now, the way the minor assignment is set up, it's set up really to ease you in to research, undergraduate or postgraduate research. So the whole of that minor assignment is based on one reading only. It would be a bit bad, I guess, if you didn't read anything else, but it's all based on the one reading. So you read the Headley Bear paper, which is also the second week of forums. So you're multitasking there. And the point is that will give you a background, a context of what's been happening in Australian schools for the last 60 years. So if once you've got that background, and don't panic about all the political ups and downs and initiatives that have come out of Canberra. There are many, many, and there'll be many more to come. The point is not to focus on that, but to focus on why you think the attitudes have changed towards children in the last 60 years. And to analyze, to dig into why you think this has happened in the way it has. And I'll quote just one immediately. It seems to me now, if you went into a supermarket and watched children behaving with their parents, typically, it would often seem as if the parents ask a 4-year-old, now what would you like for dinner on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday of this week? Whereas 60 years ago, a parent would never dream of asking a child such a question. And of course, is the child actually old enough at 4 to know what they want? And probably not, in my view. They would probably go for something sweet and bad for them. And I think attitudes towards children, and you would agree, I'm sure, have changed enormously in 60 years. But the point is why? And you won't necessarily find that in a paper or a journal or a book. You've got to dig it out, get ideas going, and then go and follow those ideas. I would love you to consider what has been the impact of the secularization of Australian society in this time. Arguably, straight after World War II, 1950s, the vast majority would have been, they would say they were Christian, even if they didn't go to church, they would associate themselves with a Christian worldview. And therefore, that will have colored their attitudes towards children. Whereas now, arguably, it's politically incorrect to say you're a Christian worldview. And why aren't you secular? And why can't you be totally multicultural? And whatever's right in your own eyes, don't do it. So how has the attitude to children changed? Why do you think they've changed? And really dig into that. Now, if you find there's a particular theme you really want to explore in depth, you'll see that there are 4 sections in the question there. And it says you should hit all those 4. Well, I'm translating for you. You don't have to hit all 4. Treat them as suggestions to look at any of those if you so wish, or if you find a really good argument to mount as to why the attitudes have changed, that's all to the good. Okay? So, I'll now shut up for a moment and throw it open to anybody for questions. Don't forget to unmute yourself if that be the case. All happy? Any questions? I see that thumb. I see that smile, Bethany. Okay. You got a question. Go. No? No, obviously not. Okay, so you're all happy with the minor assignment? Callum,
Yes.
you're happy?
Yes, I'm happy. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Callum
I'm
has
just
no
like,
camera yet, but he's going to get one day.
yeah, I'm downloading it on my phone so I can get a camera while we're
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So see my
That's good.
face in the next 5 minutes.
Okay. No worries. That'll be great. So I don't think there's anything else that comes to mind particularly. I just would stress though for the minor assignment. Oh yes, I would. I mean, you're all new students, so as well as getting your head around EDU101 and 401, you're also getting your head around the whole business of submitting assignments and how the etiquette all works and so on. Now, I would encourage you, as you start to work on that assignment, you'll have questions. You'll wonder, am I going in the right direction? Is this, I'm excited, but is this where I should go? So put a little post together and put it in on the news forum so that it goes to me, but everyone else can see the question. And in that way, I'll respond to you and everyone else can see the answer. So that's fair. Welcome, Callum. Callum with the hat. Fantastic.
Hello.
I need the hat for the cold weather in Bendigo.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, when you've got a question about an assignment, as long as it's not a personal issue, in which case use the email. But when it's a general question that is probably common to all of you, or to many of you, then put it on the news forum and we'll have a little debate about it there. Please try and get on with it as soon as you can. My attitude and encouragement to you would be to move forward quickly in the subjects that are alive, if you like. And obviously, we've got an early intensive for this one. Therefore, get moving now. You'll have later intensives or no intensives for some of the other subjects. So arguably, regard them as kicking in later. So this one's kicking in now, so get a good head start. Feel free to put in posts 2-3 weeks ahead. That would be really good for you. Particularly start reading week 2 because it's the Headley Bear paper. And incidentally, Headley, if you haven't come across that first name, is a man's name and Headley is a he. So don't be confused that he might be a she. He's not. Okay, so get moving quick. So moving on to the major assignment in 2 parts, but it's all submitted as one. Oh, and incidentally, can I underline, please submit assignments in Word, not in PDF, unless a lecturer tells you to. So it's always Word, and don't forget to put the cover sheet on the front of every assignment you submit.
Okay then.
You okay?
Yeah.
Good. So the major. So it's one assignment, one cover sheet, but 2 parts. The first part is your own philosophy of Christian education. So I don't expect it to be. I certainly don't expect it to be around. It's a work in progress. You've been thrown into this subject. It's your first subject, first semester. I'm trying to get you to, if you like, focus your binoculars on what it is that you see your role is as a teacher and try and put words to that. It's a hard assignment. It's not many words, and it is hard, but try and persevere. Don't be afraid of using the first person singular, I, but then don't use it in every sentence. Another thing I'd say about part 1 is don't write off the top of your head. You know what I mean? If you could imagine having done no study about education, you would have thoughts about teaching. Of course you would. Try and use language that uses the language of education. Student-centered, subject-centered, teacher-centered, pedagogy, curriculum, syllabi, classroom climate. Use the language of education. Use the language of worldview. Don't just write as if it were you were doing a diary to a friend or something, or a very personal journal, although it will be intensely personal and there's no right and there's no wrong answer. I suppose what I'm looking for is passion. If you're writing about your philosophy of Christian education and you're bored, that'll come through, and I would seriously challenge whether you should be doing the course. I'm trusting that you've got a passion for what you're trying to achieve and for the children that you're trying to teach, and that should come through. Don't be afraid to quote a couple of scriptures. If you do, don't write 3 or 4 to 5 lines, just an odd key phrase that might be important to you, because part 1 really needs to be tight. Write a lot and then squash it, edit it down till you first of all get a lot written, and it might be twice as long as it should be, and then concentrate it, tease out the real key points that you're trying to say, and just take courage in your hands and just submit, because it will be scary. I'll warn you, it's a scary little assignment, that part 1. You've got to be comparing what you believe, if you like, against educational theories. Part 2. Part 2 is much less personal, although you have to argue why you like this approach and why you don't like that one. So it's a comparative essay. It's an analytical essay. It's don't worry about abstracts, by the way. These are relatively short assignments. In my view, only do an abstract when you're talking 3,000 plus words. It's not a big deal. And if you didn't do one, even then, I certainly wouldn't be worried. For some subjects like theology, it might be a big deal, but certainly not for education. So your part 2, you've got to do a lot of research. You've got to read and understand different teaching strategies, assessment strategies, the ways of doing school, and you're going to come across approaches that you like. My PowerPoints on your Moodle page, if you like, give a heading: behaviorism, for example, or my mind's gone blank. Jerome, can't even get the name out now. There's a whole bunch of people in there who've got approaches that you may like or you may not like. Ossibel, Zero, you might like these approaches, you might not like them. If they fit with your philosophy, fantastic. That would be most sensible, because it'd be crazy for your philosophy in part 1 to be saying one approach and then in part 2 you deny it. That would be a bit Irish. So basically make sure that the 2 parts, 1 and 2, accord with each other. I think I've said too much already. I haven't given you time for questions. So anything you want to ask on the major assignment?
All the readings and writings in the study thing, or do we need to resource additionally?
Yeah, you do. there is a huge amount on Moodle, and I think even if you went nowhere beyond that, you could get credit, even a distinction, if you went nowhere beyond that. But I'd be very surprised if that's what you did. I would encourage you strongly to go, when you get the EBSCO login details through the library, and you go into searching the journals, that's going to be crucial for you, where you can type in, a theme in the search document and come up with articles that you can then research and reference. APA 6 at the end, I never say how many references you should have. For the minor assignment, I would think, in addition to Headley Bear, 3 or 4 would be good, no more. But for the major, where you're referencing different strategies, part 2, for part 1, probably no references, maybe 1 to a particular writer, for example, Parker Palmer, who I think is wonderful. That would be my suggestion. But for part 2, a page of references. If you've got more than that, I seriously wonder what you're doing with your life, and you're studying far too much. So please don't. So that's a fair question to start asking. Once you get researching, put your little post on the news forum and ask away. But I'm telling you up front now, I'm not going to be counting the number of references. I'll only criticize you probably if you do too many. And don't do just websites. If you do a whole string of websites, that will get under my skin a bit. I'm not saying you can't use websites, but peer-reviewed academic journals are the way to go. Okay.
And is it articles on styles or theorists, or a combination? Or?
Yeah. A combination, either, both. So basically, I would start with Moodle and dig into, start with the PowerPoints. And a tool I would suggest you is you work through the PowerPoints, click. What's all that about? I've never seen that before in my life. So then you drill down on that one, and then click. Oh, yeah. And you'll pick up maybe a handful of names that you want to research.
Awesome.
And then you buzz off to the EBSCO search and read articles on those. That will get you through.
Cool. Thank you.
One of the things I said on the intensive is, if you want to fail, then the best way of failing this subject is by not submitting an assignment. That's pretty foolproof. I can guarantee that will work. But if you do submit something, then I'm pretty sure you're going to pass. It's going to be very hard not to. Okay?
Okay.
Anyone else got a question?
When's the due date for the major assignment?
It's on there. It should be the 10th of June.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, there it is.
Yeah, so everything finishes. Now, I'll warn you, every subject will finish on the 10th of June.
Yes, okay.
So we will have to, you'll find that I don't particularly want to see a news forum post saying, we've got 5 assignments due on the same day, Jim, what are we going to do about it? Well, I'll turn around and say, well, plan your life. You're going to have to space it out a bit. Okay? That's the way to go. So, as I say, get moving, get a plan and dates really early, and stick to it and be disciplined, and you'll be fine. I see that we're going to vaporize in a few moments. I want to keep this free for me and you, so we will have more, and hopefully I'll give you a bit more notice. Is this time a good time? I presume it is for
Yes.
you. You're a captive audience. I'll see how I'll read up some more posts and see what people are saying. Thanks very much.
Is it good?
Okay then, thank you.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.